These set of lectures will be correlating with chapter 24, Absolutism and Enlightenment in Europe, from the 17th to the 18th century. And these will help put into perspective the way that European monarchies evolved or devolved, shortly before we get into the modern world of, in terms of Europe having democratic type governments. So it was the French idea that was first really put into place about this idea or model of absolutism for a monarch. And these ideas came out of an outgrowth out of the wars that were dealing with religion and the battles over Protestant and Catholic power, the issues over church power. To make it more clear, kings obviously always had power, but they would share them with nobles or the church. The idea of an absolute ruler wasn't necessarily a part of the equation, right? And ironically, a Cardinal Richelieu, he really molded or created this idea of an absolute ruler with a standing army. Now, here he's a member of the church. Here he is a noble. So it seems like he's almost working at creating a disadvantage to the two positions that he has. And there's different reasons why one could try to envision why he would believe in doing this. Right now, simply to say that he did help create this idea, and he was wanting to establish the French state, also at the expense of Habsburg power in Europe. We're going to learn more about the Habsburgs in just a little bit. Okay. Now, the king that actually ends up really emulating the ideas, although he comes after Richelieu, the cardinal, had died, is Louis XIV, known as the Sun King. And he had a famous saying, "I am the state." I mean, you can only imagine a U.S. president or a modern European saying, "I am the state," a leader. That's seen now as a sign of pure totalitarianism, right? Well, what's some of the background on this also? I have up here a list of what's called the Fronde. And basically, when King Louis was a young boy, he saw a nobles rebel, and him and his mother were possibly going to be executed or arrested. He saw all sorts of court intrigue. And with that failure, he definitely did not trust the nobles and saw them as potentially a threat. And so by 23 to the age 54, he took absolute power. He was actually able to do that in France. Unprecedented in France. Now, it didn't mean that he could just do anything, right? And ideally, the concept of absolute power is that the monarch couldn't, for instance, change religion. He couldn't change the religion of France into Buddhism, or more importantly, in the terms of the time, Protestantism. Okay, but essentially, though, everything in the state was his to control. As he said, "I am the state." And he did his best to undermine the nobility. He would bring them to his palace, which we'll see, and he made them virtual slaves in many cases, or got them to the position that they so sought out favors for him that they reduced themselves to that status. So let me see here. We're waiting. Okay, so Versailles, the palace has created. I mean, this is an amazing piece of architecture to be beholden, but keep in mind that it's also a way of like really sending a message that I, as the king, have this kind of power. Okay, the architecture and the landscapes really reflect something about your status, right? And um, so actually, I'm going to go back. Oops. Let me go back. So we're going to end right there, and then we're going to start covering um, Austria's multinational concept of absolutism, and then we'll end up returning to some discussions more about King Louis's concept and the results as well. Okay, sorry about that. Oh yeah.